Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the Thursday, September 18th, 2025 City of Tumwater Public Works Committee meeting. And with us this morning, we have Councilmember Althauser, Councilmember Jefferson, and myself, Councilmember Swarthout. First order of business, we don't have any changes to the agenda, so nobody popping up. We will be approving, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the August 21st, 2025 Public Works meeting.
So moved.
Okay, do a second. Angela? Okay, well, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, so we got the minutes approved from the August 21st, 2025 meeting. So first item on the agenda is the ordinance number 2025-009, final docket for the 2025 comprehensive plan amendments.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brad.
Thank you again for inviting us to chat about this. Just as a quick agenda setting discussion, this is the first of 3 different ordinances this year that will be coming forth that are somehow touching on the comprehensive plan. This particular ordinance deals exclusively with the adoption of the capital facilities plan, which is a 6-year plan that the city updates every 2 years on alternate years from the city budgeting process. And the reason we're pulling this out as a separate one from the larger comprehensive plan update ordinances, we also want to ensure that this is in place by the end of the year. We have been doing all the necessary work through the comp plan process to make sure that the projects that are part of this particular 6-year plan mesh with all of the things that are in the lands for public purposes element. And this is updating the one that was done in 23. Today we have Brandon and Jeff from the Transportation and Engineering Department will be answering your questions about the transportation components, as well as probably some of the general government elements of the capital facilities plan. Dan and his team will be answering questions at your October meeting about the water, sewer, and sewage resource components. The process is this is sort of an introduction briefing for the Public Works Committee. We're going to be doing a similar briefing with the Planning Commission on the ordinance at their meeting next week. The Planning Commission is scheduled to have a work session and hopefully a public hearing in October. And then this will be coming back to the full council in November. Just very quickly, staff, similar to any other comprehensive plan amendment, there's a series of criteria that are spelled out in 1860-025 about that the amendments need to, first of all, conform obviously with the Growth Management Act and our comprehensive plan. We have done that particular evaluation. We've also done the evaluation for consistency. And because this doesn't deal with external changes outside of projects, and what we're talking about is zoning amendments or changes to the zoning map, for example, there are other criteria that do not apply to this particular amendment because it's just the capital facilities plan. So what I'd like to do is turn this over to Brandon, and we'll take any input you may have, update anything that we need to, so we can move forward with this particular process. So any questions for me before I turn it over to Brandon? Okay, thank you.
All right, well, good morning, council members. As Brad mentioned, I'm here. I'm just going to be giving you a brief overview of the general governmental and transportation CFPs, and this is for 2026 to 2031. I do want to start off with, this is not Brandon learning how to use Zoom. My computer got updated last night, so I've lost my alternate displays. Things are looking weird on my screen, so if you see me squinting and looking close, or if I can't respond to you, that's why. But for today, just because we need to be quick, I'm just going to focus on new projects that are in the CFP this round. I'll touch on the ones that have come off of the CFPs as well. But again, it's going to be very fast, so feel free to ask questions. And just due to the scale of these documents, I would invite any of you to reach out to me individually, and we can talk, or I can set up a meeting, and we can go over anything that you want to in detail. I also want to say that they are living documents still. We're going through the process of speaking to boards, commissions, committees, council. And so as we go through that, there's going to be some suggestions or questions that might make some changes to the lists. In addition, as a management team of the city, we're going through and looking at some fine details. My team's looking at schedules, cost estimates, and everything. So the numbers could go up and down, and the projects might move around. So just be aware of that. But the next time you see it, it'll be closer to the final state. And then, of course, when you actually take action on it, it'll be complete. Okay, share. So can everybody see the presentation? And I now can't see you because of the updates on my computer. So maybe if somebody could say yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So just real quick, general information on the CFP. The CFP is part of the city's comprehensive plan. It is a 6-year coordinated plan, and it includes all of our capital projects. Here at the city, we set the limit at $25,000. So if it's $25,000 or more, and it is a capital asset, then it goes into the CFP. And really what the CFP is about is it's showing that we have a coordinated plan in order to undertake the projects that we've determined that need to happen, and we have reasonable funding for them, or at least a strategy. So the projects that are in here, they typically deal with purchasing, construction, replacement, addition, major public facilities or major equipment. And then some of the types of projects that you're going to see in here, they're going to be streets, utilities, which Dan will touch on at a future meeting, bridges, parks, fire trucks, facilities, and just so you're aware, and I know that you all are, but I want to say it again. I want to say it in this meeting. This CFP is not a financial commitment. What it does is it informs our future budget processes. So the actual financial commitments come when we bring budgets forward to you. And then each individual project, it actually goes again. So before we start work on a project, we come back to council, and there is action by council at that time. So there are 5 primary fund pools in the CFP, and I have them separated into 2 categories. Essentially, it's utility or non-utility. The non-utility projects are funded by a variety of sources. We've got general fund dollars in there, lots of grants, utility taxes, real estate excise taxes, impact fees, MPD revenue, TBD revenue, in addition to many other resources. And then the utility projects are primarily funded by rates and development. And then, Dan's team also does a really good job of getting some storm grants for storm projects. So lots of funding sources, and Dan will go over his in more detail at the future meeting. The capital projects are included in the draft documents that they primarily come from all of the plans that council has adopted. I have some of those on the screen, and I will admit that some of those cover pages are outdated because I did not update this from 2 years ago. It was a quick add, but some of those documents have been updated, but primarily our large capital projects are included in the plans that council has adopted or taken some form of action in. There are also projects that are derived from the Metropolitan Parks District and Transportation Benefit District planning. Some projects come up just in response to preparation for development activities. Sometimes we add projects if new grant funding comes available, and we want to take advantage of it because we know that it's a future need. Sometimes there's major facility or equipment needs that pop up out of nowhere that get added to the capital facilities plan. And then the last general group of capital project needs is brought forward by council or staff that might not be in existing plans, but we know that they're necessary or important. There are some drafts of the CFPs in your packet, and as I stated earlier, they are living documents. So even what you received in the packet, they have been updated since, and there will continue to be small updates as we go forward until we reach a final stage, which it'll still happen well before council takes action, but just continue to be aware that these are, it's a moving target at the moment, but generally speaking, the bulk of the projects are there. As you can see on the screen, the general governmental, and again, I'm only talking about general governmental and transportation, but those two CFPs combine to over 60 projects, and there's a little bit more than $220 million between the two CFPs. It's the largest that these two funds have been, I believe, ever, but I didn't go back and look historically. Definitely the largest combined total since I've been here, so for 10 years. And the primary driver of that is the new Public Works facility and the community center. Those are two very large ticket items that are included in here. The figures provided on the screen, again, there you can't read them, which I apologize, but they are more up to date than what you have in the packet. And you'll continue to get updated forms as they're changed. What I can say is because these are large projects, we're looking for new funding sources to make this all work out. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a $10 million shift on that $220 million number. And again, just be aware that this isn't a financial commitment at this time. That does not occur until we go through budget processes or individual project authorization. So, okay, just jumping real quick into the general governmental CFP. The general governmental CFP, it supports programs, activities that most people would associate with operating a city. Utilities is in the same bucket, but they're their own standalone fund. So just think about police, fire, facilities, parks, and similar functions. And major funding sources for the general governmental CFP include a portion of the utility tax. We get a lot of grants for parks projects and some of our sustainability projects. There's parks impact fees, bonds, debt, levies, and other miscellaneous sources. There are 36 projects included in the proposed list for the 2026 to 2031 general governmental CFP. And then I have on the right side of the screen those projects that are being removed because they will be complete or they have been revised in some form. So the Deschutes Valley property, I believe that one will be secured prior to the end of the year, so it falls off of the CFP. The Parks and Recreation Facility and what was called the Market Building, which now is undetermined use, but those projects have been combined into a new project that we've called the City Hall Campus Facilities Initiative. And really what that project is about, and I think I have it as a pull out in a future slide, but I'll just hold it for that, and if I don't see the slide, I'll touch back on it. We've removed the City Hall parking expansion project. That was a pretty big ticket item that we needed desperately a few years ago. But with the changes that happened with some departments going to satellite offices, some of the changes that happened in 2020 with more remote work. At this time, we're not needing the parking expansion as much as we did then. So we're gonna defer that a little bit and reassess. I know that we're planning on going through some form of a needs assessment for space, and so that'll probably be looked at during that time. But right now, we've pulled it from the CFP. We've removed the wayfinding signage CFP project. That'll be something where if we determine that we want wayfinding for any specific purpose in the future, We will likely address that in the budget process, or if we need to, we can add it back to the CFP in the future. But right now, it has been sort of a dormant project sitting there not getting used for probably at least 5 or 6 years. The digital alerting systems, that was for the fire stations. One of those, T1, is either being installed or has been installed already, and then the T2 component has been added into the T2 renovation project, which is included in the CFP. And then Washington Center renovations has fallen off the list because the project is complete and we have already transferred all the funds that we contributed to that. So I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm just gonna pull out a few of the projects to highlight. Most of the ones that I pull out are gonna be new projects, but I do have a couple substantial ones. And so this first one isn't new, but it is substantial, the Public Works facility. I'm not gonna go into detail on this one because it is in, Jared and possibly Bill are gonna be discussing it later in this meeting. So at any rate, there is some substantial changes, as you will hear in a little bit. We have the Deschutes Valley Trail. So, I mean, we're all pretty familiar with this one. I think I talk about it at least a few times a year, but the reason that I wanted to highlight it this time is that we are nearing the end of the project. We are coming back, actually in this meeting as well. There's going to be a discussion about design of the remainder of the trail. And then as you can see on the screen, we're aggressively trying to get this project done. I would say we will likely be complete with the trail sometime between 2028 and 2030. We have it on the most aggressive end on the screen because we're going to try to secure some additional grant.
Brandon, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there Deschutes Valley Trail planning to be going behind there by the Craft District?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes all the way from, so the first segment was from Tumwater Historical Park to Brewery Park. What's left is Brewery Park to Pioneer Park. So there's going to be a couple bridge crossings. It's going to go through the golf course. It's going to be, I want to say it's a 2.5 mile long trail, and it's going to be a major multimodal corridor connecting two parts of the city that it's almost impossible to bike or walk.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. So here I've got the community center. Chuck is in the meeting here. I don't know if he's got panelist abilities. So if you do, Chuck, I don't know if you have any update you want to provide the committee. And I still can't see anybody.
Yeah, I'm working. I've got it. I don't see my camera button here. Here we go. I'm all live. We're actually meeting with the council on our consultant Barker Rinker CCAT on the 23rd. And at that meeting, we'll be talking about in a little more detail about how the draft designs of the building look and how they'll be used. And I think Lisa explained at the last council meeting that we'll be talking about a day in the life of the facility so that council members can understand how a particular space goes from one use to another use to another use and group to group to group, and how we keep that building full all day long. We'll also be talking about siting and which site, hopefully getting to what a preferred site is so that we can move forward with a little more detail about how the facility fits on a particular site and what the implications of that are.
Well, I got to tell you, this will be the third time I've said it, but I have lost my Zoom window. So y'all are just there somewhere in the ether. I can hear people talking. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on because it sounds like Chuck's done.
Yes, Chuck is done.
Okay. I'm never going to have my computer updated again. I can tell you that. So here I mentioned a new project a couple slides ago, the City Hall Campus Facilities Initiative. Really what this is we've got a lot of moving pieces at City Hall right now, and a lot of it has to do with the growth of the city. We've got new positions and, absent bringing in bunk desks, we have nowhere to put people at the moment. And so we've got some departments or portions of departments have gone to satellite offices. We have some positions that are currently vacant that if we did fill them. It's anybody's guess where they would even sit. And so ultimately, there's a lot of moving pieces at City Hall. You know, we're gonna have Public Works moving out to the new facility. So there's gonna be a lot of building repurposing. And so this is a blanket project where we could look at most or all of the facilities on the City Hall campus, which I don't know if there's an official definition of that, but the way that I'm interpreting it, it's the library, which wouldn't have a change, but City Hall, the existing Public Works yard, Station T2, and then the current Parks and Rec building at the corner of Capitol Boulevard and Israel Road. So on this slide, we've got Station T2 improvements, and I'm hopeful that Brian has gotten panelist privileges as well.
I did. On this, just a brief update on this project. Obviously, this is part of our staffing Medic 8 at Station T2 and the need to house more staff there. We have engaged with Rice Fergus Miller for some preliminary design work, and they've done some cost estimating, and we're working on that cost estimate right now. We're not in design phase yet, but hopefully we will be soon. So this is, again, related to Medic 8 and the additional Medic unit, which for information, we're going to start kind of a soft start on that unit in October, and it'll be fully staffed by January 1.
Thanks, Brian. So you can stay unmuted if you'd like. We've got Fire Station 3 here now, so I think I should probably change it to T3, but I'll let you tell me.
Yeah, that's fine. This is just this is really looking to the future. You can see there's no future years for any construction costs, but through our strategic planning work, we've identified that we need to start planning for a third fire station in the city, and that's what this intent is for, is some planning work and potential land acquisition in the future. We don't have a site yet. We need to start doing that work, so that's the intent here.
Thank you.
So I have a question just for people that are watching or any, these are just placeholders. Again, we're not, these are just ideas. Like you said, nothing, we're just discussing, these are placeholders that were being put on these.
Start the
projects.
discussion and the planning work, yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
It does sort of line out our work plans as far as where we need to start planning our efforts to be in the future and how we're going to line out projects that we're looking at, funding that we need to secure or reserve.
Hey, Brandon, I know you can't. Brandon can't see him, but Councilmember Althauser has his hand up.
Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my question about this one specifically is future years. We have 8 million booked potentially. That would be essentially for planning, like building I would assume building that's not the actual cost we would estimate that it would cost to build a third station, correct? There's just so much technical equipment. We'd probably have to acquire land like that's for planning. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, this is a planning phase. You can see in the future years, it has $8 million, which as we're learning about estimating, we're not quite sure what that number is yet, but the future years number is what, we're estimating for a cost at this point. The 27 and 29 figures are for planning and potential land acquisition.
Lisa?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Councilmember Swarthout, for the placeholder discussion. And the only thing I would clarify also with that is, yes, it's a placeholder in terms of it's probably going to be on the city's capital facilities plan for many years to come. But we are talking about beginning to spend money on the important things associated with the important planning tasks. So we don't know exactly, where it will fit in, but there is a need to begin to think about this, and these types of projects take us many years to kind of figure things out. So yes, it is a placeholder. for many years to come, and we do intend at some point in time in the next 6 years, hopefully, to begin the planning and feasibility work.
Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate that. And the reason I bring this up is because we've already had a response from one of our residents on the park. And I know that's going to be another item that'll be coming up on our agenda. But it's like with the East Street connection, Brandon, you know that, anytime we bring up that topic, we just want to be proactive. And we do have our citizens that are, paying attention to this and just want to be sure that, when we start talking about this, that we're proactive, and that, we talked about like a communications plan, because they're seeing that, we're talking about the roundabout, we're talking about the park, and talking about this facility and in their mind, like we know that we're not starting this until, we have the funding and the design and all these things that have to happen in place, but that it triggers some concern, and just want to be proactive in our response and to our and everybody, so we know that, yes, that doesn't mean it's happening tomorrow, but just to help meet expectations and anticipate the kind of concerns that are going to come from this meeting, and just that we're planning. It's just we're planning ahead. So yeah, just thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And the good thing, so as an example with T3, with planning for future another station for fire, it being on the list right now, it's going to keep coming back and back and back. And every time that we come here for one of these, it's another opportunity for the public to have that discussion. And then they get to see either my name or Brian's name or Chuck's name or Dan's name on some document, and they can reach out to us. So even if we tried to do like some coordinated communication out, there's going to be people that are missed. And this is an opportunity for them to reach out to us. And I do have one huge update. I can see everybody. This doesn't feel as awkward anymore. Which means I also have a mute button, so you don't have to hear me clicking. So are we ready to move on? Okay. Okay. So that was it for the highlights or new projects in the general governmental CFP. There's a lot more in there, and not enough time in this meeting. So please reach out to me, and I can come to you. We can do it on phone. We can set up a Zoom meeting, whatever's needed. If you want to go into more detail, I'd be happy to. So here we'll go ahead and move on to the transportation CFP. The transportation CFP includes projects that support multimodal programs and projects to preserve and improve the function and safety of our existing transportation infrastructure. They also are intended to ensure that we have capacity that's necessary to accommodate growth in the city. And that's based on planned land use or known development activity. The types of projects that you can anticipate in this CFP are pretty self-explanatory. They have to do with moving either multimodal or vehicle transportation. And then major funding sources include the transportation CFP does receive a portion of the utility tax, REIT or real estate excise tax. We get gas tax funds. Grants are a huge revenue source for the CFP. Transportation impact fees are also incredibly important, and that's really to serve growth. Mitigation fees, same deal, serving growth. And then we have transportation benefit district funds. There are 26 projects in the transportation CFP for 2026 to 2031. And there are also 3 reserve projects, and those are they're sort of keeping it on the radar. And then it helps if there is a grant opportunity that doesn't fit one of our, there's 27 projects as I'm looking at my screen, and I keep on saying 26. If it hasn't made that top list of 27 and a grant comes up, we have a better opportunity if we still show that it's a planned project. The ones that have been removed this cycle, all of them but one, they're being removed because they've been completed. And those that have been completed include the I-5 Trosper Capitol Boulevard Reconfiguration Project, Israel Road Israel Road and Linderson Way pedestrian and bicycle improvements, Linwood Avenue sidewalk, the Tumwater Valley Drive realignment, which was a portion of the East Street connection. Traffic signal controller and detection upgrades. That project is not yet complete, but we have procured all of the materials. It was federal funding to get all the material, and it is paying for our signal technicians to do improvements at quite a few of our signals, and that'll be occurring this fall and winter. Rural Road Shoulder Improvements Projects is the last project that has been removed, and this one's not because it's complete. I talked about it when we came forward for the Transportation Improvement Program. It's not meeting the definition of being regionally significant, but it does fit well into some of our more programmatic projects that are still in the CFP. And so it'll be kept on the list for our multimodal improvements program. It's still going to be very difficult because of the environmental impacts to widen there. But it's one day it will happen. It's just a matter of when it can happen with the difficulties and challenges for such a small stretch. So a few projects to highlight in the transportation CFP. We have the pavement maintenance program. This is primarily transportation benefit district. And the reason I wanted to highlight this one right now is that at the time being, I'm proposing that we move to a structure of, rather than having a pavement maintenance project every year, we do larger projects every other year to take advantage of economies of scale and quite frankly, for capacity reasons. A $2 million paving project takes the same amount of effort as a $4 million paving project. So it just makes sense right now. There's also the multimodal improvements and traffic calming program, and I'm pulling this one out because it now has got a good chunk of money from the Transportation Benefit District with the changes that we put forward with the new reinstatement. TBD funding can now be used a lot more for multimodal improvements, and so this program has grown. We'll probably continue to try to take these projects on at the same time as the pavement maintenance projects, combine it into one single project because you have the same subcontractors on each one, so you get a lot better prices. And it's the same deal. If you can take two projects and can combine them into one, it saves so much staff time and effort. This is a new project, new to the CFP, but it is in our corridor study, the old Highway 99 and Henderson Boulevard roundabout. We're still focusing on the 79th Avenue roundabout as part of the new Public Works facility. This is going to be the next logical phase of the corridor study, would be to put a roundabout at that intersection. And that would allow us to eliminate left turns in that segment, greatly improve flow and safety. So this project here, I'm calling it new. It's the Henderson Boulevard 58th Avenue to Bridge project. It really isn't new. So we did have the Henderson Boulevard Bridge project in the last couple CFPs. Every CFP since I've been here, we've been struggling to identify a good funding source for it because the bridge is stout. The bridge is in very good condition, and it's almost impossible to get funding for bridge work unless the bridge is in very poor condition. Really what we have is we just don't have the ability for pedestrians and bikes to get across the river there. And so what we have done is we know that we have, I'll call it an intersection, but Pioneer Park, the driveway, major driveways are considered in capacity grants. And so Pioneer Park would be a major driveway. And so there's a good chance that we could secure grant funding by including capacity improvements there. And so what I've done is I've added a roundabout at the Pioneer Park entrance and then extended the limits. It would serve both as traffic calming for the bikes that we know want to use the corridor, and some of them currently do. And then it would help us secure funding to get multimodal facilities across the river. At this point, I am shifting my mind towards, in all likelihood, it's going to be a standalone pedestrian bridge or shared use bridge that's next to the existing bridge rather than widening of the existing bridge. It's going to be a lot more affordable. And we'll be able to expedite this actually happening. I'm a lot more optimistic about this one than I was a few years ago, but I can tell you for 10 years, I've heard about it at least a few times a year. It's a big,
Mhm.
it's a big deal to the community. We have
Brandon, I have a comment on that.
yeah.
Good thinking on that, on how you and your team are thinking outside the box. I like that.
Mhm.
It's actually pretty common when you're trying to get grant revenue. You try
Mhm.
one angle and you leave it in there a couple tries, and if it doesn't work, you move on to another, and then eventually somebody bites and it works.
Okay.
It really is a great project. It's just
Yes.
there's not good funding sources
Mhm.
as soon as you say the word bridge.
Yeah.
And thank you. So a new one, Tumwater Boulevard and Henderson Boulevard roundabout. This one is not in any planning document at the moment. There is intersection improvements in the current transportation master plan. We're currently mainly Brad's team, but we're currently going through an update of our transportation plan. And within that plan, it does include intersection improvements here. We are plugging it in so that we can really start to try to define what it's going to be and understand what type of property impacts there's going to be, because there's quite a bit of development that's been occurring there.
Mhm.
And so we want to try to get ahead of that. 93rd Avenue and Case Road roundabout. Now this is a small portion that is actually in city limits. When you drive 93rd Avenue, it probably feels like you're in the county or on the state's portion of 93rd Avenue, but that is a city intersection. We used to have this in the CFP, and we were collecting funding mitigation fees in order to plan for future improvements here. We used those fees to do preliminary engineering, and then it fell off the list because it was less critical for a while. We are nearing capacity at that intersection now. We actually have some development coming in, and we're starting to have a level of service concerns. So we need to start figuring out how to address this intersection in the future. It is getting added to the impact fee program, which is currently being updated. And what the impact fee program will do is it'll make it so that development within Tumwater is paying a fair share. There's also the ability to collect mitigation fees. And so it is being combined here. You can't double up, so you can't have one person pay both mitigation and impact fees. So if you develop within the city and you pay an impact fee, your mitigation is considered fulfilled. But if you're not in the city and you don't pay an impact fee, your mitigation is not fulfilled, so you pay the fee. So ultimately, the way that this is set up is everybody is paying a fair share for an improvement that is used by everybody within Tumwater or the county, because it's right on the border. And we are anticipating a roundabout. Prior studies had it as a multi-lane roundabout in order to keep the costs manageable. Right now, I would say we're probably looking at a single lane roundabout, but it would be a high capacity roundabout. So it wouldn't be quite the same as what we're used to seeing, and that vehicles would be able to go through it a little faster than what we're used to. Tyee Drive extension, Tumwater Boulevard to Pine Drive. So Tyee's just been slowly migrating its way south as development has occurred. Right now, there's pretty substantial development with on the Tyee Drive alignment between Israel Road and Tumwater Boulevard. That will naturally continue to the south. By adding this here, it'll help us ensure that as development comes in, we can get what we're actually wanting, what we're planning for within the alignment. And, there's a good chance that there's going to be some form of an agreement as development comes in order to make this road happen. Because without it, there's no way that it ever would happen. The transportation improvements in an area like that are too substantial for any one development to undertake. So this is really just a way for us to ensure that what we are planning for and need for our transportation system, we can ensure that it happens.
Brandon, on that one, I remember being part of the, when we did that we were partners on the road, when we punched the road through where the Toyota dealership and all, and there was a way that we funded that. And so would that be something that, and I'm not sure, Councilmember Jefferson wasn't with us. I'm not sure if Althauser with us the time when we, as a council member, when we did that, would that, I don't know if to bring that up, would that be the kind of funding that we'd be looking at for this type of, or there's a partnership that we had with them, I believe.
In all likelihood, yes. You know, what you're speaking about is the Toyota. So when the extension came through, we had a development agreement with Toyota of Olympia.
Right.
In all likelihood, this would be funded in the same manner because it's an easy way. You got new tax revenue coming into the city. You use that new tax revenue to pay for the improvements that the city needs in its transportation system over a small period. And then once those costs are paid off, the rest is just additional revenue to the city to cover all of our other priorities and needs.
Because right now we're talking about the apartments that are being built around, that you would access, they would have to access the roundabout that's currently there. Because they couldn't go southbound, so we need those improvements to go, to punch the road through. Is that what anticipating?
So the apartments, we wouldn't be able to enter into any form of an agreement for something that is residential because it's not tax revenue generating. If we were to use the model like we did with Toyota of Olympia. So the way that this is set up, it would, in all likelihood, it would need to be commercial development of some kind because we need the tax revenue in order to pay for the improvements.
Okay, all right.
I think this is the last one. This is taking longer than I wanted you all to have to sit through because I know it's a long meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, please don't be. It's my fault. So this one, it's a goofy name, Missing Link Transportation Improvements Program, and I am taking bids for any better name if anybody has one. But ultimately, as we know, development doesn't, all work together and say, let's develop this corridor. We'll just get it all done at once. We get little piecemeal developments here and there, and we end up with missing segments of either roadways that don't punch through. There could be, large segments of missing sidewalk or bike lanes. The hope here is that we at least have something in our program to where if we can identify funding to fill those gaps, we're ready to go. And so that's really what this is for here. It also allows us if we know that there's large developments, but they're not staggered at the same time, then what we could do is, if a development that's isolated is in and they put in their improvements, we could then undertake the improvements in the segment that isn't getting done right then and put a special assessment on the properties that are benefiting it, the development. And then when they come in to develop, they pay us back, they're ready to go. And so it's sort of a win-win for everybody. And that is it. So I don't have questions or closing slide because I think Brad might be jumping back in. We kind of got a piecemeal item here.
Brandon, I did have a question. I serve on the Transportation Policy Board and so Transportation Policy Committee, TRPC. And so at the last meeting they gave us we reviewed the Transportation Comprehensive Plan, Review Guidance and Certification Checklist. And so I was just curious because I don't know where we were on that process because we have to go through that because some of the jurisdictions were saying that they had already gone through that. So I wasn't sure. It was new to me, so I just was curious about Tumwater and asking about where we are on that. So Brad.
Yeah, so we are actually either, and I apologize, we have either submitted it as of yesterday or we're going to be submitting that today to TRPC review.
Okay, thank you.
There's a packet and a checklist that goes with it, and our staff has been working on that.
Okay, thank you.
And just as some quick closing comments, again, echoing what Brandon said, if you have any questions, please reach out to us individually for any help on understanding specific projects or the schedule for this update. We will be taking it to general government at their November 12th meeting the full ordinance, and then the council will have a work session on the 25th for the full ordinance as well.
Okay, all right. Do we have any other questions? It sounds like, are we done with this portion then? Do you have any other questions? Okay, we're getting head nods. Anything else, council members? Okay, all right. So we'll be moving on to our next item on the agenda will be the service provider agreement with SCJ Alliance for the Deschutes Valley Trail. Does anybody need a break? Okay, good. It's only been 45 minutes. We're good, right?
Morning, council members.
Welcome, Jared.
Give me 1 minute while I get the presentation shared here. Can you all see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Jared Verhey, and I am the Capital Projects Manager for the City of Tumwater. Today, I'm going to discuss the Deschutes Valley Trail Service Provider Agreement for design of the trail from Brewery Park to Tumwater Fall, or from Brewery Park at Tumwater Falls to Pioneer Park. I'm going to ask Chuck Denny to start off with the history, vision, and benefits of the Deschutes Valley Trail. And then I will follow up with a brief overview of some of the routing and planned segments and hit on some of the highlights of the segmented breakdown of the trail. And then I'll wrap up with the service provider agreement and a summary of that. Chuck, would you like to start on the history?
No, I would. This is one of those projects that's been going longer than I have, and it's been a vision that we've had since as the slide says, 1987 was the first time someone came up with an idea that, hey, we should have a trail that goes from one end of the city all the way to the other end of the city. As we worked through that, it appeared in the Parks Plan for the first time, our first Parks Plan in 1994. And that was prior to us owning the golf course. So there's a serious connection issue there. Over the years, we've acquired all the property we need for the trail. And we've continued to work on it, probably countless hours, trying to put this thing on the ground and decide what the route is and where it goes and where the trailheads are. Meeting with, originally with the Brewery people, we met with the staff at the Valley Athletic Club. We've met at the golf course with the men's club and the women's club, and how it affects golf. We've had several meetings with the Palermo neighborhood and how the trail may impact them. Fishing people, met with the tribes. We've done a lot of talking about this, a lot of time on the ground trying to decide where it's going to go. Finally to a point where it looks like, geez, we might actually do this thing. Super exciting. It connects 5 parks. So starting at Pioneer Park, crossing the Deschutes, it goes to Deschutes Valley Park, which is at the end of T Street with the lot water tank. And it connects to the Palermo Pocket Park, then to Brewery Park at Tumwater Falls, and then ending at Historical Park. And along the way there, it also connects the golf course, and it has a trailhead that connects to Capitol Boulevard. So tremendous connectivity for transportation, connecting a whole bunch of neighborhoods, connecting business district with the trail. I think it's going to be super popular and really an asset for the city of Tumwater. So Jared, I'll throw it back to you unless there's questions.
Thanks, Chuck. Overall, the Deschutes Valley Trail is broken down into 7 segments. The first of which was constructed in 2021 and provides access between Historical Park and Brewery Park. It's kind of a great trail segment that's already been completed. This service provider agreement will actually discuss or cover the 6 remaining trail segments. Overall, the trail is made up of the completed segment A1 and in total is approximately 2.5 miles of trail, and connects the five parks like Chuck had alluded to earlier, historical brewery, Tumwater Falls, Palermo Pocket Park, and the Deschutes Valley Park and Pioneer Park. The 6 segments make up the remainder of the trail that's yet to be constructed. And it's been broken down into segments to allow flexibility for construction design and opportunities in the future, maybe for future construction funding. To start, segment A2 runs from Brewery Park at Tumwater Falls to E Street, which is just off, or it's about 965 feet south. There's a trailhead located at Brewery Falls Park. This segment includes significant structural design with retaining walls and some vertical challenges with grades adjacent to or as the trail route passes under the Capitol Bridge and adjacent to Capitol Boulevard.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So we're not going to cross the street. We're going to go under.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
The routing will go from Brewery Park at Tumwater Falls and cross under the Capitol Boulevard Bridge.
All right.
Yep. So segment B basically picks up at E Street and continues south to the cul-de-sac at just south of the Valley Athletic Club. That segment is it's over 3,000 feet. There is a segment in there along the Craft District that that's designed and constructed as part of that development. Generally, that segment of trail follows along Tumwater Boulevard and includes 2 mid-block crossings of Tumwater Boulevard through the routing. The next segment is segment C. It's really the longest segment within the design. I would also say that as part of segment C, we've kind of lumped in the Deschutes Valley Park spur, which connects up to the Deschutes Valley Park and a section of trail that was previously constructed as part of that park. Along this segment of trail, there is one bridge structure that crosses a drainage ditch near the M Street cul-de-sac. And it includes over 1,000 feet of trail barrier adjacent to the golf course to essentially provide some protection of trail users adjacent to the golf course. Segment D runs from the Deschutes River to Pioneer Park, picks up at the end of trail segment C, and it includes 2 bridge structures, one an approximate 300 foot bridge crossing the Deschutes River, and then an approximate 120 lineal foot bridge that crosses some of the wet areas on the Pioneer Park side of the river. The final segment is the Palermo Spur, which connects the Palermo Pocket Park to segment C and also has a second connection to Linda Street, which is just east of the Burger King along Capitol Boulevard. So it kind of connects up in that section. So as I mentioned, the service provider agreement includes the full design for the 6 remaining trail segments and includes the efforts for the information gathering, design, permitting, and construction bidding. This is a fairly complex design project, with the most significant elements being the structural design and the environmental and critical areas involved or as that the trail runs adjacent to or impacts. As an overview, the design efforts will really be split into two parts. The design for segment C and the Deschutes Valley Park Spur will begin immediately upon approval of the service provider agreement. The expected completion date of with an expected completion date of June 2026 to facilitate use of some grant funding available for construction. Segments A2, B, D, and the Palermo Spur will start after segment C with some overlapping timeframes with segment C. The design completion for segments A2, B, D, and the Palermo Spur are expected to wrap in early 2027. As Brandon mentioned previously, the segments of the trail may be constructed as late as 2030. The total consultant design fee for this service provider agreement is just under 2.5 million. And the preliminary estimated construction costs of the 6 remaining segments are $16.8 million. Yes, I see there's a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe you're muted.
It wasn't cooperating for a minute. So Jared, when you say design, would that design include historic signs about the trail, interpretive signs talking about our local animals, our trees, our salmon that's in the area? Or are we just talking about, just designing the pavement and the bridges?
Go ahead, Chuck.
Interpretive signage isn't part of this design, but it will be a part of this project, but it will be more on the recreation side of things as we do historical and interpretive signage. There are a ton of stories that we have to tell along this corridor, and it's from the tribes to the pioneers, to the water, to the fish, the forest that we go through, and really the story of Tumwater in general, and also the story about the brewery and how a lot of those pieces came together. So lots of stories to tell, and we'll be working on a plan to do that through signage and through our arts program as well.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm happy about that.
So on the construction costs, that's still like a flexible number at this point, because that could be adding, like she's talking about some of the things that still could be added to it later, or we're just talking about anticipated construction costs at this point without adding that piece of it, the cultural piece in?
They're separate items at this time. Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I want to be clear. Okay.
So this project and the funding necessary to complete it is included in the 2024 through 2029 capital facilities plan and it was identified as a general governmental project, GG05. Funding for this design, for the design, is through the Metropolitan Parks District, Park Impact Fees, and the General Fund. As just touched on, the total cost for the remaining segments is estimated at $16.8 million. The city has secured $5.8 million in Connecting Washington grant funding through the state transportation budget, and approximately $2.6 million in federal funding administered through Thurston Regional Planning Council. Any of the remaining funds for construction will come from the Metropolitan Parks District, Park Impact Fees, and the General Fund. I'd like to also just to note the city's actively researching and anticipates applying for additional grant funding to reduce city funds needed for the project, which is kind of to hit on why the project's been segmented. Any questions?
Any other questions for Jared? Okay. Great. Okay, with that, we are ready to place the recommended action, take action on? All right, so I'll go ahead and, Jared, if we're ready to move ahead, then we don't have any other questions. Do have a recommended action before us to place the service provider agreement, SPA, with SCJ Alliance for the Deschutes Valley Trail Project on the October 7th, 2025 City Council consent. Do we want this on consent, or should we have, what you guys think about? I'm not sure. I don't want to flood our consideration agenda, but I'm not sure if our council would want to see this, or should we just, what do you think?
I think they would want to.
What do you think, Michael?
I was gonna say that I think it's fine with consent since it's an agreement.
Okay,
One
right,
about,
yeah, we've got,
it's not like the
Lisa.
final,
yeah, right.
we usually have stuff on consideration
for
when it's
sure, and
more
this- I
final
just-
and ready and,
Yeah.
All right, city
I don't know, but
administrator.
Lisa's hand is up though.
Yeah,
Yes, and just as a reminder, it is very easy for any council member at the beginning of a meeting
Okay,
to request
for
that
sure.
something gets pulled off of consent. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
okay. We just want to be sure we celebrate the good stuff, but you're right, we've seen this before, so I just want to be sure that all right, so I'll go back and send, place the service provider agreement, SPA, with SCJ Alliance for the Deschutes Valley Trail Project on the October 7th, 2025 City Council consent calendar with a recommendation to approve and authorize the mayor to sign.
So moved, Councilmember Jefferson.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, thank you, Jared. Okay. Now we're on to our next item on the agenda. Let me get that back up again here. All right, oh, come on. Sorry, my laptop's not wanting to cooperate. We have a service provider agreement with the TCF Architecture PLLC for the city operations and maintenance facility design amendment number 1. And take it away again, Jared.
Sorry about that. Good morning. Are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So for this project, I'm going to discuss the City Public Works Facility Service Provider Agreement Amendment number 1, which addresses the fees and efforts for TCF Architecture to design the new administration building. Just to note, this has previously been commonly referred to as the operations and maintenance facility. So there is a slight change in name there. As I mentioned, I'm here to talk about the service provider agreement, but I first wanted to start with a quick update on some of the other projects that are directly linked to the Public Works facility. These projects include the old Highway 99 and 79th roundabout and frontage improvements, the Trails End Park, and the Trails End building demo. Although these projects are managed separately, they're really a part that's integral to the Public Works facility. So the first one here, this project includes the old Highway 99 and 79th Avenue roundabout and roadway and frontage and sidewalk improvements along 79th Avenue and Trails End Drive, which are being completed as a mitigation for the Public Works facility. A majority of this design, the majority of this design is complete, with the most notable elements remaining being the property acquisitions from the port and the Pick and Pull property to the southeast, and then also to note the city's working on an alternatives analysis required by the FAA in coordination with the Port of Olympia. So the service provider agreement for the Trails End Park was just recently approved by council for this project. The project will initiate design here in the very near future with a design completion date around the end of 2026. So the third project, really linked to the public works facility here, is the Trails End building demolition. It's being completed by city staff and includes plans and specifications to remove the two remaining buildings that remain on the property. We're expecting documents for the building demolition to be ready to bid in November of 2025. So now I just wanted to touch a little bit on the public works facility history. In 2011, the city began the search for a new public works facility. In 2014, the city purchased the property that was once the Trails End Riding Arena. And from 2016 to 2022, the city worked with TCF Architecture on the facility programming and determining the facility's plans for equipment and staff. Other master planning efforts included community engagement, cost estimating, and the determination of the area for the Trails End Park location. Through the master planning efforts, the administration building was programmed to be approximately 8,000 square feet based on the planned staff at the facility, and it's just on this image, it's kind of noted as building A down in towards the bottom of the image there. In 2023, the city entered into a new service provider agreement with TCF Architecture for the design of the public works facility and the complete PS&E plan package. The design efforts progressed the preferred site plan that was selected during the master planning and brought the design of the site and 8,000 square foot administration building to a nearly complete stage. The 8,000 square foot building was originally programmed to house TED and Water Resources operational staff. And now just an update to kind of bring us up to present day. So starting back in 2024, the city reevaluated staffing and made the determination to revise the public works facility administration building to accommodate the addition of Water Resources office staff, in addition to the TED and Water Resources operational staff that was originally planned to be a part of the building. The increase in staffing triggered an increase in building size, which was originally 8,000 square feet to an approximate 24,400 square foot building, which equated to an approximate $8.4 million additional construction cost for the administration building modifications.
Jared, if I could just hop in real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify. So it's not just WERS office staff that would be relocated. It's also the TED office staff. And just as a reminder, the plan originally was to bring out all public works staff, all park staff, all facility staff. And then going through the programming, we reduced it just to be the operations and maintenance staff. And then the engineering staff. And then costs were too high back in, I want to say it was around 2016. So we decided to delay moving WERS and TED office staff out there till a future date. And so the building was set up for a planned future expansion. And ultimately what has happened is we are proposing to bring back the office staff to present day because there's no room at City Hall. So these are all the folks that were planned to be out there originally. We're just moving the office staff forward about 5 to 10 years from when we would have had to have moved out there. We still, parks and facilities and maintenance staff are still completely out of the program. And those components were removed as part of community engagement. So at this point, I just wanted to clarify, it wasn't changing the plan to now bringing out the office staff. We always were, we're just doing it sooner. That was all.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate that.
Again, can you reiterate just again, what staff will be as planned to be moved into that building? Then what are we anticipating? So you're talking about, okay, go ahead and go through the list again. Thank you.
It'll be all of TED and all of WERS.
Okay, so that's water resources and all
Yeah, sorry.
transportation. Okay.
Sorry,
Great.
I say those
I
all the
know.
time, and I realize that
Yeah.
it sounds kind of weird. All of
So,
transportation and
what it
engineering.
means is, because we do have all the water staff is out at Percival at South Puget
Mhm.
Sound Community College. So that means we'll be ending the lease there, and then all that staff will be moving out to the Public Works facility.
Correct.
Okay, and
Along
then
with-
all the transportation. Okay,
Yeah, I call us the basement dwellers, but the engineering and office staff for transportation and engineering from the basement will move out there, and then everybody
Okay.
out at SBSCC will move out there.
and then we just moved our parks people out, and so will they have another place? They're off on their own now, and so
They
what happens
are.
to them?
Well, not everything is determined. I mean, we've got the community center going on. We've got the city campus initiative going on. We're going to be going through some
Correct.
space needs assessment. And so
Mhm.
a lot of that's undetermined right now. The only thing that we know for certain is that we need space. And when we started
Right.
looking at the new positions that we have, the current
Oh,
space
yeah,
restrictions,
Mhm.
we ultimately were at, okay, we need to go either lease more space right now,
Mhm.
or we need to move a whole department right now. And then it just
Mhm.
made sense. Well, why wait to move out the office staff out here
Mhm.
while we're spending money elsewhere that we don't need to
Yeah.
spend, and why not just do it now? And so that's
Correct. I understand that. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, the Muppet Family Christmas when they keep trying to find places to
Yeah.
put everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but as far as where parks will end up, that's yet to be determined, but there's a lot of opportunities that can make sense with the planned projects in the CFP.
okay. Sorry, Chuck. You guys keep getting kicked around. So,
If I can just add real quickly,
Okay.
the, the whole reason we needed to move park staff out is because our police department is busting at the seams. And so in order
Right.
to add the body-worn camera function, in the space
Mhm.
needed for the additional staff for that, excuse me, for that
Mhm.
purpose, that's why we moved parks out of their facility,
Mhm.
the other half of the basement dwellers. But the overall intent is, and one thing to keep in mind, this project is a big project and it will require debt financing. If we're going to
Mhm.
have to finance debt, it makes a lot more sense to be more cost effective. Building what you need now and in the future is cheaper now than building part of it now and trying to add more later, when
Mhm.
things cost a whole lot more. And the cost of financing for two different initiatives would be way more than the cost of financing for a single purpose. So this
Mhm.
facility is designed to incorporate enough space for at least WERS and TED to grow into, as well as accommodate all of those people that are now scattered to the winds, so to speak. And with
Mhm.
regard to Parks and Recreation, I agree. We don't yet know exactly which people might be located in what we believe will be parks and facilities in the remodeled Public Works facility, which ones might be involved and housed in the new community center. And then the other piece of that is all of our other internal customer service support departments like finance and accounting and community development and executive. We have multiple buildings right now in this facility at City Hall that have 3 people in a single office. So we are we're out of space, and I think that wasn't understood or anticipated necessarily in 2016 when we first made the shift to go to a smaller
Right.
facility. So thanks for the opportunity to add a few thoughts on that.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that because I wanted like to help connect the dots for people that are watching that, from back in 2011, when we were first looking at this, how much the city has grown, and that, we have added staff. And so just connecting the dots for people to see that we have seriously outgrown our facility, and that this need for more personnel to be able to run the city efficiently. And so just want to connect the dots for people that are watching. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Lisa and Brandon, for I guess really just covering the slide that I had up on the screen here. If there are no more questions based on why the administration building is changing, I'll continue on.
Okay, thank you.
So the following, what I have here is a brief summary of the service provider agreement associated with the Public Works facility. So it started in 2016 with a service provider agreement totaling just over 152,000 for the master planning efforts. And then the city entered into a new service provider agreement for the 100% PS&E plan package for the overall facility, which totaled $2,450,000. This service provider agreement amendment number 1 is for the previous revisions, is for the revisions needed to change from the previous 8,000 square foot administration building to the approximate 24,400 square foot 2-story administration building for all of Water Resources staff and the Transportation and Engineering Department. The fees, and just to note, the fees for this amendment were really developed using the same methodology from as used in the 2023 service provider agreement. This amendment increases the not to exceed amount by $1,247,727 to a new total of $3,697,727, and also extends the agreement to the end of 2026. So as an overview of the schedule and costs, TCF is available to initiate the design upon a council approval with an expectation that the new administration and all associated design elements of the Public Works facility to be completed in April of 2026. The increase for amendment number 1 is just over $1.2 million, bringing the new total to $3,697,727. The total design and construction costs for the Public Works facility are estimated to be approximately $40 million when constructed in around the start of 2027. So this project and the funding necessary to complete
Jared, I
this.
have a question. I have a question for
Sorry,
you.
go ahead.
So just because I want to know from an engineering perspective, right? So what happens after we pay for the design is in, is that design then given to the builder, or is it given to the city, or just give me the background of what happens next?
Yeah, so basically we'll have the design, and once that's completed, basically the design will solicit bids for the project and ultimately go through our process to select a contractor. And then at that point, we'll kind of follow the standard city process for that, and then move into construction at that point upon approval of a contractor or selection of a contractor.
Okay, so can we change designs at that point?
Or
is it like the final product?
Normally you don't tend to want to change designs after a project has been bid, but there are opportunities and methods to make changes to design in construction.
All right, thanks, Jared.
Yeah. So just to wrap up here, the work is included in the 2024 through 2029 capital facility plan and included in the general governmental water, sewer, and storm capital facilities plan, and is split 33% general fund, 28% water, 22% sewer, and 17% storm. As I mentioned, the project will be funded but via $40 million bond. But I did want to turn this over to Troy, the city's finance director, just to further elaborate on some of the bonding options that we have shown here.
Thanks, Jared. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's interesting how fast things changed. I put this together on Monday in preparation for the meeting today. And you might have seen in the news yesterday, the Federal Reserve Bank is going to lower interest rates by 0.25%. So this is already out of date in 3 days' time, but in a good way, because lower interest rates will mean lower costs for us. So right now we're just going to go with what we have on the sheet here, and this is just a comparison. Of course, it's an estimate, but assuming the $40 million cost to build the facility, we have a couple options. Actually, we have lots of options, but the most common options for a bond issuance is either a 20-year bond or a 30-year bond. This is a very long-lived asset, so we could really go either way. The advantage of going with a 20-year versus a 30-year would be a lower interest rate. You can kind of see in the middle, a 20-year bond, because it's paid back faster, does have a little bit lower interest rate at 4.65% as of Monday. And a 30-year bond, because it takes longer to pay back, that increases risk a little bit. So investors want a little more return on their investment. Interest rate as of Monday was 4.9%. So you can see below that an annual payment on a 20-year bond, just a little over $3 million each year. And on a 30-year bond, the advantage there on the annual payment is the payment is lower because you're stretching it out over more time, just like a house payment if you did a longer or shorter financing. So with the longer bond, we would pay about $500,000 less per year, which just improves our cash flow. Got the interest, annual interest there. So interest is obviously a little bit more, about $100,000 more each year on the 30-year bond, which makes the total payments over the life of each option. The 30-year bond would cost us almost $15 million more in interest. So those are some definite considerations. We're not asking, of course, for any approvals or anything today. This is just informational. And as we get closer, and we don't need any decisions yet either. So as we get closer to actually doing the financing, we'll come back with updated options with new interest rates. Interest rates may keep lowering, which will just help us on this. So I see we have a couple of questions. Councilmember Althauser was up first, I think.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess my question about that is how the decision point process works. Is it the Budget and Finance Committee that would have sort of jurisdiction over making a recommendation to the full council about which bond option we do and when we do it, or what does the sort of parliamentary kind of process look like for getting to a green light of a final yes on doing a bond?
So
Yeah.
Can I take this one first, Troy, and then you can hop in? So yes, council member, it would generally be the same process that we have now. Ultimately, we're talking specifically about a general obligation bond. So anything that we do with a general obligation bond requires resolutions and ordinances and actions on the part of the council, many of those. I think, the other piece of that is as we refine our numbers and as the economy changes, the decision-making process about what's going to work best for the city, either pay less over time, smaller payments annually to pay more overall, or save money in interest and pay a little bit higher in terms of cash flow. All of those things are going to be very much more precise as we get closer to the construction process. And we would definitely be coming to the council first through Budget and Finance Committee, but also we can go to a full council work session as needed to just talk about the pros and the cons, the implications of different alternatives. And we would certainly have not just city staff to help guide that conversation, but our bond underwriters and our bond counsel can be available to help us with those kinds of decisions.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Jefferson?
Yes. Do we have any other bonds out there that we're paying right now?
No, not right now. We have very little debt overall. We are still paying off the most recent fire apparatus that we purchased in, I don't know, 2017, I think. I believe that one will be paid off this year. But hardly any debt at all.
Okay, thank you.
One last thing I wanted to clarify too that I thought was interesting, at least from my perspective. We're talking about a single general obligation bond. Oftentimes, as opposed to a revenue bond. Oftentimes, when we're talking about our three enterprise utility funds, the water, sewer, and stormwater, we're able to use revenue bonds. And that just means we have a dedicated, specific source of revenue to repay the bond issuance. In this case, because there is such a large component, a significant component that's being covered by the general fund, we'll have just a single general obligation bond, which essentially, when we're a GO bond, means that we are dedicating the city's tax resources as the source of repayment for the bond issuance. But we would do a single GO bond, and then the different utilities would pay back the general fund for their portion of the different pieces, sort of in the I don't want to say background, but because that assumes it's not transparent. It would be transparent. It's just that the bond payment would go just from the general fund to the bond holders, and then it would the division of that payment into the percentages you see on the screen would happen internally.
Well, another question. Will the community have to vote on this bond, or is this, the council's decision?
This will be councilmanic. The state of Washington sets by law the amount of indebtedness that a city council can incur on behalf of the community at a certain percentage. And as Troy pointed out, we have almost no no outstanding debt at this point in time. And so we have a lot of capacity in terms of councilmanic or non-voted debt capacity, which is a good position to be in. And the reality is we have to have cash flow to pay a bond back if we're going to take that debt. So those are that's a lot of the back and forth and the conversation that will need to occur over the next several months before we get to the point where we actually want to go out to bid and get this project constructed.
Okay, one more question. Troy, besides this one, is there any general obligation bonds that we're looking at in the future?
Possibly for the community center but that would be tied to the TMPD more so than the city. And then that would be it for general obligation that we're aware of right now. We do also anticipate the big water storage facility on 93rd, I think it is. And that would probably be, since that would be probably 100% water utility, that would probably be a revenue bond for the water utility.
So it's important for our communications team to let the community know that these are upcoming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think back to you, Jared.
Okie doke.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Sharon?
So last slide was just if there are any further questions.
Okay.
I have a recommended action slide if you'd like me to pull it up.
Okay. That'd be great. Okay, so if we're done with our questions, we'll go ahead and read this into the record. We have a recommended action before us to place the service provider agreement amendment number 1 with TCF Architecture PLLC for the city operations and maintenance facility design on the October 7th, 2025 City Council meeting on considerations with a recommendation to approve and authorize the mayor to sign.
So moved. This is Angela.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, perfect. Okay. Well, this is great. We did, yeah, an hour and a half. You guys, yeah. We did it. It's less than 2 hours, so we did it. Lots to cover, lots happening. Boy, oh boy, this is a lot of work, and thank you very much. Lots of good things that are coming up. So
Yes.
realizing that it's not just want to set the expectations, not happening tomorrow. And so these are just setting the stepping stones for what will be happening in the future, because we will be getting, and just, again, wanted to reiterate having a communications plan, just to be real clear with that we're in a design process, and just make sure that we're answering questions for our curious people that are watching this project. So thank you so much. So, all right. Well, do we have any other business to take care of here today? Are we good?
We do not.
Right.
I just wanted to say thank you for the extended meeting compared to our normal time. So thank you.
Oh,
We
you
got a lot
bet.
done.
Yeah,
We all
thank
did.
you. We did get a lot done today. So thank you. All right. Well, with that, then I will call the September 25th, or excuse me, I'm calling 25th, September meeting. Oh, write the date down here. Oh, I have 2025 on here. So anyway, so I will be calling the September 18th, 2025 Tumwater City Council Public Works meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, you guys, and go out and enjoy the sunshine. Thanks.